What's going on, guys? This is Bruce Madsen, your host of the show with no name. No name yet. No name. So if you have an idea for a name for the show, drop it in the comments. Whatevs. Should be rolling out one here shortly, sooner than later. But right now, I'm just going off a whim here. I'm going to be updating some equipment, getting some other things set up for the show. But we're going to take things one step at a time. The most important thing is I'm getting shows out, I'm getting content out for you guys, and I'm keeping you guys entertained, informed with this infotainment for football, fantasy football purposes. And if you like what you're seeing or what you have been seeing, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that like, that thumbs up, and then ring that bell so you do not miss an episode. You get that notification to your phone, laptop, computer, whatever, and you're ready to rock and roll. With that being said, let's get this started. And what I'm going to be talking about today, well, it just happened probably about half hour or so ago. Le'Veon Bell is about to sign with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that has a big impact on everything right now because we have a big fan base for Clyde Edward-Helaire. The Kansas City Chiefs, probably one of the most high-powered offenses in the history of football. Not just the NFL, the history of football. The history. Lot there. Le'Veon Bell used to be a stud running back. Rushed for just 863 yards in the last 2 years. 789 yards this year. As we all know, he's been with Adam Gase. Adam Gase just looking at every direction with those weird eyes of his. It's hard to tell if what's going on with Le'Veon Bell. Kansas City Chiefs just bought a used car. That's pretty much what they're doing. They're buying a used car. They're buying that used the Firebird that was sitting there. It had its days. It's been sitting in a lot for a bit, but they just bought it. Is it going to be its old ways, or is it going to break down soon? We don't know. But we do know it's got a good driver. That driver, Patrick Mahomes. And we got Andy Reid filling it up at the fuel pump. That has to bring some value to him. What he's averaging right now, 3.9 yards per carry. That was under the Chiefs. That was under with Patrick Mahomes and company. Maybe he's around, 4.2, 4.3 range. Who knows? Is this going to impact Clyde Edward-Helaire? Well, maybe. I think fantasy football value for the short term, it does. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if Le'Veon Bell's going to step in and start taking carries or he starts taking some. We don't know what this is going to look like. But right now, since this is in everyone's head, short-term wise, next 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, yes, it's going to involve that. Will he get signed to another year? Because this is just going to be a one-year deal. If he gets 2-3 year contract out of this or another 1 year deal extension, how's that going to look like for Edwards-Helaire's long-term contract? We'll know how this is going to affect him long-term wise by how well Bell plays. There's a good chance Bell doesn't play well. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2017. That's a long time ago in football years. That's older than dog years. So that's a long time. He could very well be just falling down that cliff, and they're just going to use him as a part-time back. That could still hurt Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the short term for redraft leagues. That may not. Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be getting the same usage or getting close to the same amount of fantasy points each week. That may not do anything. Long-term wise, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire's all right. I think this is good for him, actually, long-term wise, because I don't want him getting a large workload when he's learning the game, when he's learning how to take hits, when he's learning the speed of the game. I'd rather that come when he's fully developed, when he's fully transitioned, year 2, year 3, whatever. That's when you really want him to get the workload. You don't want him to get that when they're still learning and transitioning, and he is, because we're in the COVID season, less of an off season, less of a training camp. He's a rookie. I get it. He's good. He was drafted in the first round. He can catch the ball in the backfield, all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. But he's still got some developing to do. And Le'Veon Bell taking some of those hits away, it's just going to prolong his career a little bit. young running backs, especially during their rookie seasons, are more likely to get injured. And this is just going to help him out. That being said, Dynasty Fantasy Football, if there was ever a time to buy Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because there wasn't really a buying period for him since draft day, it's now. It's right now. This Thursday, Friday, this weekend, this is when you need to buy him. I guarantee Bell's going to have to transition in this offense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get a couple weeks getting the workload. So think about it in those regards. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still going to get those touches to prove himself. It's going to be a few weeks before Le'Veon Bell starts really getting inserted into the game plan. That could be 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now. Could be nether. We have to wait and see. This is an upgrade for Bell. Bell went from one of the worst situations in the history of football to one of the best situations in the history of football. That has to say something. He was able to rack up 3.9 yards per carry with one of the best teams in it, with one of the worst managed teams to ever be fielded in the history of football. Now he's going with the most lucrative, high-powered offenses with one of the best quarterbacks of all time, Patrick Mahomes, and with one of the best offensive schemers, one of the best coaches of all time, Andy Reid. That could only be at least a better opportunity for him. So if he's getting prime touches, he could shell out. I don't see him being the 2017, 2016, 2015 version of himself. But as long as if he's a fraction of that could be good. That could be some fantasy points right there on a weekly basis. I just don't see it being good enough for him to dilute out Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the long term. Short term, it's going to have an initial impact. It has one right now. A lot of people in doubt. A lot of people scared, whatever you want to call it. And that's natural. It's a short-term format. Redraft is, and it's a sprint. And when you get a Bell, a Le'Veon Bell, or a running back like him into the mix with a rookie like that, then that is going to cause some concern, and it should. And you really just got to react to what happens. There's a chance there's no impact, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire fends them off, and you have your running back for the season. There are some people that has both, because you drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire early, and you got a Bell a few rounds later, and I'm trying to get those touches, and now you're in a prime spot. Both backs may end up fantasy relevant, or one gets hurt and you got the other one. It's all good. It's going to be impossible to buy Le'Veon Bell right now. His value is through the roof, especially in redraft. Dynasty, he's kind of got some life left. Right now, he was trending on the down end. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this is about maybe one of the last times you're going to be able to buy him until he starts to level off. So I would try to kick the tires and try and buy Clyde Edwards-Helaire right now in Dynasty. It's almost been impossible to buy these last couple months unless you were really shelling out some studs. Now things are coming back to earth a little bit on the price. Like I said in the last episodes, these players, their values do this. And they're not going to continuously go up. They're not going to continuously go down. And we want to buy the dips. This is a dip. So we want to attempt to kick the tires and see if we can get him. There's a good chance we could. There's also a chance we don't. Because if I'm owning Clyde Edwards-Helaire and I'm an owner or a fantasy manager who can think past the short term, or I'm very patient where I understand that this is a long-term game, I'm not going to sell him for a discount. I'm going to expect the same amount of returns I did before the season. And even though the value's dropped, that doesn't mean I'm going to expect less. That's just how it is. It really depends if that owner or manager is patient when it comes to Dynasty Fantasy Football. Redraft, this is where you could get him for a fair price. So I suggest kicking the tires for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think Le'Veon Bell's going to be hard to buy right now, but you can probably get him at a fair price too in redraft, because there's going to be some doubt because Clyde Edwards-Helaire's there. We haven't seen Bell do anything the last couple years, so you're just going to have to take your shots. If it was me, and if I had to guess this outlook for 2020, the rest of the season, I think it could be a little murky at times. I can see Clyde Edwards-Helaire not really losing that much of the touches where it hurts him that bad. He may lose like 5%, 10% of the touches, and Bell steps in and takes some of that workload. But I see it taking a little bit of time for Bell transitioning. Like, I don't see him popping off week 1 when he's on the team, or 2 or 3. It may be a little bit, because you got to get used to that playbook, get into the rhythm of things. And I see Clyde Edwards-Helaire still being used like he's typically being used. He could lose some of those touches. That makes sense. But the rest of the running backs on the team, they're going to lose. They're not going to get any touches. It's going to be Bell and Helaire. It's going to be the 1-2 punch. And this could be just a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split. It could be 60 Helaire, 40 Bell, 60 Bell, 40 Helaire. We don't know. Like, I don't know the future. Like, I can only speculate. So why don't I just give you all sides of the square, you know? I'm not Christina Aguilera. I don't have a genie in a bottle. So why don't I just give you the likely scenarios? We try and determine what's best case scenario, and then more than likely we'll be wrong anyways. So what's the point here? But there's going to be a split between the two backs that I kind of see that. It could be just 90-10. Bell may come in and he may not be near as good as what the Chiefs thought they were getting, and he's really that old used car that turns into a clunker. Injuries could set in, and Bell could be taking over the full workload. Bell could come in and he'd be a breath of fresh air and take over the reins, and this is just be an off year for Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the back half. We don't know. All these things are up in the air. More than likely, we're going to see something in the middle. We're probably going to see like a 60-40, 70-30 split, more than likely. I can't see Clyde Edwards-Helaire losing his foothold because he already been in the offense. He's not playing bad. He's getting used more in the passing game. He's been used between the tackles a bit. They like him. It's not like they think he's that bad because they brought him Bell. I mean, Bell, you're getting a back who is a veteran, who has done a lot of good things in the league for a cheap price tag, so you bring him in. It's going to take a few days or weeks or whatever for him to transition. Clyde Edwards-Helaire could fend that off, and if he continues to play well, that could prevent him from getting a large portion of the workload, and that could be good for the football team in general, where they can just split the touches and keep the running backs fresh and ready to go. So be on the lookout for that. Just be mindful. I'd be trying to buy Clyde Edwards-Helaire right now just because his price tag could be lower for his fantasy manager. This might be more than likely the chance for you to get him at market price than inflated price, more than likely. Thank you guys for watching the show. Make sure you hit subscribe on the way out. Give me that thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you have a topic you want me to hit on in the show, just say it. Maybe if I like it, if I feel like I can run 10 minutes on it, 15 minutes, and I'm interested in it, I'll do it for you. I'll take requests. I'm all cool for that. Make sure you ring that bell so you don't miss an episode. And I'll catch you next time when I drop another episode.